One of the most drastic changes to come with the release of Secrets of the Obscure is the Wizard's Vault, a new reward system that affects all players, whether they have the expansion or not. It replaces not one, but two core game systems, daily achievements and daily login rewards, and as such has been the focus of quite a bit of controversy among players. Does the Vault function as a successor to these systems? Let's take a deeper look to find out. This video will focus on the mechanics of the Vault and an analysis of its advantages and shortcomings. For a guide on how to best use your Astral Acclaim, check out the separate video I posted on the topic. To start, I'll provide a quick summary of the Vault's mechanics. Feel free to skip to the timecode on screen if you don't need the run-through. The Wizard's Vault is a system which combines daily logins and daily achievements. It has three categories of achievements: dailies, weeklies, and seasonal. Which swap out quarterly. You can choose a combination of PvE, PvP, or World vs. World to customize which achievements appear in these panels each time they reset. Completing the achievements in each category grants you Astral Acclaim rather than direct rewards. You then spend Astral Acclaim on your choice of rewards from the Vault's shop. The daily category contains 4 achievements. EditorCade here. Since I began working on this video, ArenaNet have announced that they're increasing the number of dailies to 5 to allow more flexibility, one of which is simply logging in. These reset at the daily reset time. The other 3 achievements are worth more than the login, and completing all 4 grants you a bonus chest. The weekly category contains 8 achievements, but only requires you to complete 6 to get the bonus chest, though you can still complete the last 2 for their individual acclaim. Weeklies are worth much more acclaim than dailies, and will likely be your main source of it in the long run. In general, the weekly achievements are either harder or longer or grindier than the dailies. They reset on Mondays at Raid Reset. Finally, the seasonal category is weird. As of the making of this video, we can't say for sure what happens when it resets, because there are still several months before it resets for the first time. The first set of seasonal achievements are related to main aspects of the current release, the story, some new mechanics introduced, which is a pattern that will likely continue, perhaps including festivals and quarters where new expansions don't come out. These achievements are worth huge amounts of acclaim, but are limited in number. The Astral Acclaim you earn from completing Vault achievements can be spent on a variety of rewards. Some of these rewards include gold, materials, and premium quality of life items. Some are limited in stock and will reset quarterly. Other rewards include skins, emotes, potentially other novelties. At the end of each quarter, these items will be moved to a separate Legacy Rewards tab. Now let's get into a deeper discussion of the Vault's mechanics. Note that I will try to keep my own opinions out of this analysis, and what opinions I do provide are intended to be from the standpoint of the system designers, explaining the rationale behind certain decisions. Some things you may dislike about the systems aren't bugs, but very intentional decisions by the devs to achieve certain goals. Perhaps the greatest benefit of the Vault system is the variety and flexibility of its rewards. In the old system, there was a set list of rewards you got with each login, many of which would often go wasted. Prime example being transmutation charges, an item many players rarely use, and that becomes mostly irrelevant if you pursue legendary gear. In the new system, you have total control over what you spend your acclaim on. You can simply choose to not get transmutation charges if you don't need any. It's also worth noting the difference in the offered rewards. Namely, the Vault now includes a variety of unique skins, novelties, and even premium upgrades like build templates as rewards. These include things like emotes and mount skins. The mount skin in particular is exciting, since I believe this is the first time one has been obtainable through gameplay. A more controversial aspect of the Vault is how it pushes players to spend more time playing the game. From a purely game design standpoint, this is a good thing, as that's explicitly what a daily reward system is meant to do. Many players have taken issue with this, however, in particular, alt farmers. In the old system, most of the valuable rewards were obtained simply upon logging in, allowing players to farm pretty efficiently by simply logging into a ton of alts each day. Under the new system, this strategy is massively nerfed. Just considering the trade of 6 acclaim for 1 gold, logging in is essentially worth about 80 silver, whereas completing all dailies is worth over 10 gold, until you hit the quarterly limit on that purchase anyway. Again, from a design standpoint, this is a good thing. This acts as an equalizer, removing the potentially unfair advantage one could gain from having multiple accounts. If you're forced to actually do dailies on each account to maximize your profit, you're now putting in the same amount of work as a player who plays on just a single account all day. Another related controversy among players is how this system operates on FOMO, or the fear of missing out. Some players argue that the increased value of dailies is now punishing them for not playing. This is quite notable, since one of Guild Wars 2's main draws compared to competitors is that it doesn't push players to play constantly or punish them for taking breaks. Some players feel that the Vault betrays that aspect of Guild Wars 2's design philosophy. In response to this argument, many players have pointed out that there are already numerous systems in the game that offer generous daily rewards. Most notably, fractals, which are one of the best ways to earn gold in the game, reset daily. Why complain about the Vault if you aren't also complaining about fractal rewards? There are 2 potential counter-arguments to this. Firstly, one could argue that they weren't previously engaging with fractals, but were engaging with daily logins. That is, a system they were already using became FOMO, regardless of whether other systems already were or weren't. Another potential argument is that fractals and other pre-existing systems are high effort. Sure, fractals and raids offer lots of rewards that frequently reset, but they're also difficult endgame content. In contrast, the old login system was as easy as opening the game, and could easily be accomplished even if you didn't have time to play on a given day. Generally, it's also likely that some players' misgivings are amplified by a general adversity to change. It's possible that some of them may retract their complaints as they warm up to the Vault over time. As for whether Vault dailies or fractals actually do function via FOMO, I have my own thoughts I will save for a future video. Feel free to discuss your opinions in the comments. A potential flaw in the Vault, compared to the old daily system, is that it has less achievement flexibility and may do a poorer job at pushing players to try out the game's competitive game modes, PvP and World vs. World. I myself rarely participate in World vs. World, and even less in PvP, but when I did, it was often because the competitive dailies seemed quicker or easier than the PvE dailies that day. Unlike the old daily system, the Vault only gives you a total of 3 daily tasks, and only from the game modes you choose. That means players like me, who only occasionally participate in the competitive game modes, are very unlikely to select them in the Vault, and therefore will participate much less often. This could potentially cause World v World and unranked PvP to take a big hit to their player populations. Beyond that, some players simply want more flexibility to choose which content they want to be rewarded for each day. A potential solution could be to simply remove the category selection and grant players access to all dailies and weeklies of each category. This would itself pose another problem, however. How should the balance of acclaim offered per achievement be adjusted were such a change to be made? One possibility is that all achievements would have their acclaim reward reduced. This could pose an issue for players who don't frequently participate in multiple game modes, however, as they'd suddenly be at a disadvantage unless they played content they were uninterested in. Another idea is that dailies and weeklies would simply stop giving acclaim after you complete the current limit, though the remaining achievements having no reward could leave players who put effort towards those ones feeling ripped off. Another issue can be found in the syncing of dailies and weeklies. One player informed me that they've done dailies together with a friend for the past 2 years, but can no longer do so now that the Vault's dailies are synced differently. It appears that the vault generates a different random selection of dailies for every combination of expansions a player might own. Based on this same player's information, this also applies to PvP and World vs. World dailies, even though those don't have any reason to change based on expansion ownership. If this information is accurate, this issue should be relatively easy to fix. The designers could simply generate one set of dailies, then assign a backup daily for accounts that don't have a necessary expansion. They could even implement a set of cascading backups, so that, for example, a Soto daily could have a Path of Fire daily as a backup, which could have a Core Tyria daily as a backup. This could address a potential resulting issue of all backups being in Core Tyria. The final issue I'll address here is the actual content of the Vault's achievements. The achievements themselves are highly inconsistent, and on two different metrics: their difficulty and their specificity. The former is easier to explain. Some dailies are incredibly easy and/or don't take very long, such as mine 15 ore, dodge a few attacks, etc. Others can be incredibly long-winded and/or difficult, such as the Zendai Jun puzzle, which can easily take upwards of 30 minutes, and that's assuming you can either solo the bosses or manage to find cooperative players on the map. Sure, that'll be easier if it's a daily, but it's not guaranteed. When it comes to objective specificity, note how some dailies and weeklies are very specific. Complete this mini-dungeon, participate in this meta-event, etc. Meanwhile, others are much more vague, like kill 5 veteran enemies, dodge 3 attacks, etc. The latter group pose a problem. They will always be either unengaging or confusing. Consider a player who plays the game for many hours a day, every day. This player will obtain each of these vague dailies throughout the course of their day without even thinking about them. They aren't doing the job of pushing players back into old content, nor are they particularly satisfying to complete. They're an afterthought. Now, consider instead a player who logs in one day with the intent to just get their dailies done and log off. How does one actually go about completing a vague objective like kill 5 veteran enemies? The player will be left aimless unless they can think of a specific situation well suited for the given task on their own. Even then, some obvious solutions simply don't work. When kill an elite was a daily, my first thought was to kill an End of Dragons hero point boss, but after trying several different ones, they just didn't count. Another issue posed by the selection of daily objectives comes in the quality of the content. There's no polite way to put this. Guild Wars 2 is pretty infamously bad at upkeeping its old content. There have already been several notable instances of daily or weekly objectives being to complete content that was completely broken due to a variety of bugs. Generally, giving players an incentive to go back to old content is exactly what you want from a daily reward system like this, but that doesn't work out as well when so much old content is fundamentally broken. Valdhurt's Crypts had to be taken out of the daily rotation due to how incredibly buggy it is, and Crab Toss wouldn't let players pick up the crab on a daily activity day, forcing them to just stand there doing nothing for 5 minutes. Large swaths of the game are in desperate need of bug fixes, especially if they're going to be attached to such an important reward system. Before I end this video, I wanted to include the results of a simple poll I conducted in the XL server. Note that this is a very small sample size, and that the server's active members mostly consist of players focused on endgame instance content, so we may be biased in a different way than different communities might be. That said, based on these results, it would seem the majority of people have a good impression of the Vault overall and prefer it over the old systems. But there's also a general consensus that it still needs some work. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree, or if there are any other interesting aspects of the system you'd like to discuss. If you'd like a quick guide on how to best turn your Astral Acclaim into gold, check out the video in the description.